Have you ever felt a loneliness so profound, so utterly true, it stopped you in your tracks? A quiet ache that persists even when you're surrounded by people. For so many women in midlife, especially in America, this feeling is a silent companion. It is often misunderstood. We are taught to fear this feeling, to fill it, to escape it. But what if this deep solitude isn't a sign of something broken, but rather a sacred whispered invitation from your very soul? In this video, we are not going to try to fix your loneliness. We are going to honor it. We will discover why this profound experience is not a deficit, but a courageous catalyst for your deepest becoming. Imagine if the ache you've carried isn't a burden, but a secret map leading you home to your most authentic self. If you are ready to read that map, this message is for you. Let us begin. There is a particular kind of loneliness that arrives in midlife. It does not knock. It simply appears, a quiet, persistent guest in the house of your soul. It is the silent struggle of the woman who seems to have everything: a career, a family, a home. You have checked all the boxes society handed you. You have built a life. So why, in the quiet moments after everyone is asleep, does it feel like you are a stranger in that very life? This is the echo of unmet expectations. Not the expectations of others, but the forgotten expectations of your own deepest self. It is crucial that we understand what this feeling is and what it is not. This is not the fleeting sadness that can be cured by a phone call to a friend. This is not social isolation that can be solved by joining a club. Those are forms of loneliness that live on the surface of your life. They are a hunger for more connection to the world outside. But the feeling we are speaking of today is authentic loneliness. It is a much deeper ache. It is a hunger for more connection to the world inside. You can be at a party, laughing, and feel it. You can be in a meeting, presenting, and feel it. You can be in a loving embrace and still feel it. It is the feeling of being homesick for a home you cannot name, a home that exists within you. For decades, we are taught to build our lives from the outside in. We acquire the right job, we find the right partner, we raise our children. We wear the masks of our roles: the dutiful daughter, the capable professional, the loving mother. And these roles are important. They give our lives structure. But over time, we can become so identified with these masks that we forget the face that lies beneath. Our soul's deeper stirrings, its quiet passions, its unique truths are buried under the weight of external expectations. Authentic loneliness is the sound of your soul gently knocking from beneath all those layers. It is whispering, "Is this all there is? Is this who I truly am?" But what if that whisper is not a sign of a crisis, but the beginning of a sacred summons? This is where the profound wisdom of Carl Jung illuminates our path. Jung understood that loneliness in midlife is not a deficit. It is not a failure. He saw it as a powerful, necessary call to what he named individuation. Individuation is the journey of becoming your authentic self, of becoming who you were always meant to be, not just who society told you to be. He taught that the first half of life is about building our ego, about fitting in and establishing our place in the world. But the second half of life has a different, more sacred task. It is the journey of turning inward, of reclaiming the lost parts of ourselves, of becoming whole. And this journey almost always begins with the feeling of being alone. I remember speaking with a woman, a successful architect in her late 40s. She told me, I feel like I live in a beautiful house that I designed, but I've just realized there are no windows and no doors. I don't know how to get out, and I don't even know what's outside. That is the feeling. That is the dark night of the soul in midlife. It is not a punishment. It is a necessary phase for profound growth. It is the moment the soul says the old world is no longer enough. It is time to build a new one. And this requires immense courage. The courage to face the void. Our modern world teaches us to be terrified of emptiness. We fill every silent moment with noise, with distraction, with doing. But the spiritual journey requires us to do the opposite. It requires us to sit in the discomfort of the quiet, to be still in the empty house of our own being, and to simply listen. It's like entering a dark room. At first, you see nothing. It feels frightening. You want to run back to the light. But if you can be brave enough to stay, if you can just wait, your eyes begin to adjust. And slowly, you begin to see the faint outlines of things you never knew were there. You begin to see the hidden inner resources, the forgotten dreams, the quiet strengths that have been waiting in the dark. This is the first step in answering the call, the courage to simply be with what is, to be with your own soul, without flinching. So now the question becomes, how do we sit in that darkness? How do we begin to map this inner world that is calling us? That is the practical, sacred work of navigating the inner landscape.
So the question becomes, once we have gathered the courage to sit in this quiet, empty room, what do we do? How do we begin to listen to a silence that feels so vast? This is the work of navigating the inner landscape. It is not a journey of striving. It is a journey of tending, of listening, of becoming a gentle archaeologist of your own soul. And there are tools for this sacred work. The first tool is perhaps the simplest, a pen and a piece of paper. But this is not a diary to record the events of your day. This is a space to have a conversation with the part of you that has no other voice. It is about mapping your soul's territory through introspection. You do not need to be a writer. You only need to be willing to be honest. You can begin with a simple, powerful prompt. Sit in your quiet space. Take a few deep breaths and write at the top of the page, "Dear loneliness, what are you here to tell me?" And then you write. You do not edit, you do not judge, you just let the words flow. You might be surprised by the voice that emerges. It may be angry, it may be sad, it may be a younger version of you that was silenced long ago. Let it speak. This is an act of profound self-compassion. Other questions you might ask yourself are, what have I been pretending not to know? What energy am I tired of holding? If I were not afraid of disappointing anyone, what would I do differently? This practice is not about finding answers. It is about creating a safe space for the truth to be heard. The second tool is to understand the language of that inner world, and that is the language of archetypes. Jung taught that archetypes are universal patterns, energetic blueprints that live within the collective human psyche. They are the characters in the grand story of humanity, and they are the characters that live within you. When you feel this profound loneliness, you may be living in the energy of the orphan archetype. The orphan feels abandoned, unseen, and longs for a place to belong. Recognizing this isn't a weakness, it is a profound clue. It is your psyche showing you what needs healing. And by seeing this pattern, you can begin to consciously invite in other archetypes that are also waiting within you. Perhaps it is the sovereign, the part of you that knows her own worth and needs no external validation. Or perhaps it is the wise woman, the part of you that sees this loneliness not as an abandonment, but as a sacred time of deep inner communion. These archetypes are your guides. They give you a map to understand the forces at play within your own soul. And this leads us to the third part of this inner work, reclaiming the lost parts of yourself. Often, our authentic loneliness stems from the parts of our own being that we had to leave behind. The artist you silenced because you were told it wasn't a practical career. The adventurer you quieted because you had a family to raise. The wild, joyful part of you that you learned to tame in order to be seen as a good woman. These are not just forgotten passions, they are living energies within you. And your loneliness is often their cry to be seen, to be welcomed back home. In your journal, you can ask, what parts of myself have I abandoned? What did I love to do before I was told what I should do? This is the work of integrating your shadow. Not just the dark parts, but the beautiful golden parts of you that you were afraid to shine. It is about looking at that younger version of you, the one who loved to paint or dance or get lost in the woods, and saying to her, I see you. I am sorry I left you behind. Come home. This is not easy work. It can bring up grief for the life unlived, but this grief is a cleansing rain. It is watering the soil of your soul so that these forgotten seeds can finally begin to grow again. This is the heart of the journey. It is about becoming whole again. I invite you now, just for a moment, to close your eyes if it feels right. Take one slow, deep breath with me, and just ask your inner self this question. Which part of me is asking to be seen right now? You don't need a big answer. Just notice the first feeling, the first image that comes to mind. That is a whisper. That is a thread. That is the beginning of the path inward. This work of journaling, of understanding archetypes, of welcoming back lost parts, is the sacred alchemy that turns the lead of loneliness into the gold of authentic selfhood. And when that transformation begins to happen, something extraordinary occurs. You emerge renewed.
And so you begin the work. You sit in the quiet. You listen. You write. You begin to welcome home the lost parts of yourself. And then something miraculous begins to happen. This is the alchemy of self-discovery. It is the moment when the vast, empty void begins to feel like fertile ground. The loneliness that once felt like an abandonment starts to feel like a sacred spaciousness. You are not being left. You are being given room to finally grow. This is the radical shift in self-redefinition. You stop seeing yourself as a collection of roles you play for others, and you begin to experience yourself as a sovereign being with a rich, complex, and beautiful inner world. And in this sacred space, the needle of your inner compass finally settles. Remember that quiet, subtle signal we spoke of? It is no longer a faint whisper you have to strain to hear. It becomes a clear, resonant hum in the center of your being. You begin to trust your intuition, not as a fleeting feeling, but as your most reliable guide. Decisions that once felt agonizingly complex become simpler, not because the world has changed, but because you are no longer asking the world for directions. You are looking within. And you emerge, renewed. This is not a dramatic, loud transformation. It is a quiet unfolding. It is the cultivation of an unshakable inner strength, a strength that does not come from armor or from pushing back against the world. It is a strength that comes from being deeply rooted in your own truth. You begin to feel a sense of wholeness that is not dependent on anyone else's approval. You are at home in your own skin, in your own company.
The gnawing hunger for external validation simply dissolves because you are no longer starving. You are learning to nourish yourself from the inside out. But what happens next? Does this inner journey mean you retreat from the world forever? No. This is where the magic truly begins to ripple outward. This is what happens beyond the invitation. As you become more authentically yourself, the world around you will begin to recalibrate. This is the ripple effect. Some relationships, the ones that were built on the foundation of your old masks, may gently fall away. This can be painful, but it is a necessary clearing, because you are creating space for connections that are resonant with who you are now. You will find that your personal transformation positively impacts the relationships that are meant for you. They become deeper, more honest, more soulful, because you are no longer showing up as a performance. You are showing up as a presence. And your authentic presence gives others permission to be authentic too. And this requires you to honor your new truth. It requires the gentle but firm practice of setting boundaries. For many women, this is the most challenging part of the journey. We have been taught that our value lies in our accessibility, in our willingness to say yes. But you have learned a deeper truth. You have learned that your energy is sacred, and a boundary is not a wall to keep others out. It is a sacred circle you draw around yourself to keep your own inner peace in. Saying no to something that drains your soul is one of the most profound acts of self-love you will ever commit. It is how you honor the woman you are becoming. It is how you align your outer life with your reclaimed inner truth. And finally, it is crucial to understand that this journey is timeless. Answering this sacred invitation from your soul is not a one-time event. You have not fixed or cured your loneliness. You have transformed your relationship with it. It is no longer a monster in a dark room. It has become a wise, familiar friend, a quiet sanctuary you can return to whenever you need to hear your own truth again. This is the ongoing process of soulful living. It is a continuous unfolding, a gentle returning, again and again, to the sacred home within yourself. You have learned that the most profound connection you will ever experience is the one you cultivate with your own magnificent soul.
And so we arrive at the end of this sacred conversation. We began this journey together in a quiet, empty room, the room of loneliness. We looked at the feeling we are taught to fear most, and we chose to see it not as an absence, but as a presence, the presence of your own soul asking for your attention. We learned that this is not a flaw to be fixed. It is a summons to be answered, a sacred invitation to the journey of individuation, the path of becoming who you truly are. We discovered the sacred tools for this journey, the pen and paper that can become a bridge to your inner world, the archetypes that act as your guides, and the courageous compassion required to welcome home the lost parts of yourself. You have learned that the void is fertile ground, that in the spaciousness of solitude, your inner compass can be heard, and that the strength you cultivate from within is more unshakable than any validation you could ever receive from the outside world. This is the alchemy. This is the journey from feeling abandoned by the world to feeling deeply at home within yourself. Please know this. The path of soulful living is a spiral, not a straight line. There will be moments when you feel the echo of loneliness again. Do not see it as a failure. See it as a familiar friend, a wise guide returning to remind you to pause, to listen, to come home.
You are not fixing something that is broken. You are remembering your own wholeness. You are learning that the most profound and lasting connection you will ever have is the one you have with your own magnificent self. That is a love that no one can ever take from you. If this message has helped you see your own solitude in a new light, if you feel a sense of recognition, of peace, I invite you to honor that feeling. Share in the comments below one word that describes how this shift in perspective feels to you. It could be spacious, peaceful, hopeful. There is no right or wrong answer. Your word could be a beacon of light for someone else who is still sitting in the dark, feeling lost. Let us create a community of beacons for one another. And as you become more comfortable in this sacred space of inner connection, I want to prepare you for the next courageous step. Because know this, after you courageously answer your soul's invitation, you may look at the life you have carefully built and realize it no longer fits. In our next video, we will explore what to do when the ambitions that once defined you lose their spark. We will discover how to find your true north when your inner compass begins to point towards a completely new and sometimes frightening direction. You will find the tools to navigate this profound and powerful shift. Thank you for sharing this sacred, quiet space with me. Be gentle with yourself. You are not alone in this.